Have you ever stared at an old family tree and just wondered, is this for real? I mean, for centuries, all we've had are paper trails. Wills, old deeds, notes in a family Bible. But today, we're going to jump from the 18th century right into the 21st. Because we have this revolutionary tool that can prove those family connections with scientific certainty. That tool is DNA. All right, let's get into it.
So this is the big question, right? Paper records can be a mess. They can have mistakes, big gaps, or sometimes people just made things up. So when you're trying to connect to an ancestor from the 1700s, how can you really be sure? Well, it turns out the proof isn't written on paper. It's written inside our own cells.
To really dig into this, we have to talk about the family name at the center of our story, Dubose. Now that sounds pretty unique, doesn't it? But here's the thing. It's a bit more complicated than it seems. It's what's called a toponymic surname.
That's right. Dubalsk, which became Dubose, just means of the wood or from the forest. Now just think for a second. How many forests were there in France? A lot. So this name could have popped up all over the place for totally unrelated families who just happen to live near some woods. So you can see how just sharing a last name is definitely not enough to prove you're related.
And this brings us to this really fascinating historical puzzle. Right here in early America, you had two major Dubois families, this time spelled D-U-B-O-I-S. One group settled up in New Paltz, New York, and the other group, our line, settled down in the South. And for literally centuries, genealogists have been asking, are these folks related?
Well, science came in and gave a crystal clear answer. When researchers tested the Y-DNA, that's the DNA passed directly from father to son, the results were like night and day. The New Paltz family, the descendants of a man named Chrétien Dubois, they belong to one major genetic group. And our line, from Isaac Dubose, a completely different one, no overlap at all.
So the bottom line is this. Even though they had similar names, were around at the same time, and had similar origins, the DNA evidence is undeniable. They are not related on the paternal side. And this is exactly why doing a DNA project for one specific family is so important. It just cuts right through all that historical confusion.
Okay, so if they're not related, how do we trace our specific line? Well, we use the incredible power of Y-DNA. You can think of it as a golden thread, one that connects a father-to-son line across hundreds and hundreds of years. It works like this. The Y chromosome gets passed down from a father to his son, and then to his son, and so on, and it stays almost perfectly unchanged. It's basically a genetic surname. It carries a unique signature through the generations that's way more reliable than a written name that could get changed or misspelled over time. So, through the Dubose DNA project, advanced testing let researchers trace this genetic surname way back. We know the family belongs to a big European group called R1b, which totally fits with their French roots. But they didn't stop there. They got way more specific. The project followed the genetic path down more than 25 separate steps until they found it, a marker that is completely unique to this one family.
And here it is, RA7566. Now, this isn't just a random string of letters and numbers. This specific marker, it's called an SNP, is the unique genetic fingerprint for every single person who descends from that original ancestor, Isaac Dubose. It's the modern scientific signature of the entire family line.
Okay, this right here is the most important question. It's the whole point. We've got this genetic fingerprint from people alive today. So how in the world can we say, with any confidence, that this same exact marker belonged to a guy who died 300 years ago?
This is where the golden thread method comes in, and honestly, it's brilliant. What researchers did was find several living men who all had rock-solid, independently researched paper trails, and the key is, each of them traced their family line back to different sons of that original Isaac Dubose. So, when they all took the big Y-DNA test, every single one of them had the exact same unique marker.
The conclusion is just inescapable. If you have men descending from separate sons and they all share this one rare genetic marker, there's only one way they could have gotten it, from their one single common ancestor. The science proves it. RA7566 was the genetic fingerprint of Isaac Dubose himself. Suddenly, the paper trail and the genetic trail lined up perfectly. They became one.
Now, Y-DNA is absolutely amazing for that direct father-to-son line, but it only follows that one line. What about everybody else? What about all our grandmothers and great-aunts and all those other family branches? Well, for that, we have to turn to a totally different kind of DNA test.
And this is where autosomal DNA comes into play.
This is the kind of test you probably know from companies like Ancestry DNA. Unlike Y-DNA, you get this stuff from all of your recent ancestors. The amount of DNA you share with someone is measured in something called a centimorgan. And really, all you need to know is this: the more centimorgans you share, the closer you're related. Simple as that.
So let's check out a real example from this project. We have two people here who share 60 centimorgans. Now, based on the data, that suggests they're probably third or fourth cousins. And guess what happened when they compared their family trees? It turned out one descends from Isaac's son Daniel, and the other from Isaac's son Stephen. Their shared DNA is living proof of their family connection, tying together two branches of the family that have been separate for hundreds of years. How cool is that?
So after all this, what's the big takeaway here? It's that modern science isn't trying to replace all that hard work of traditional genealogy. Not at all. It's here to confirm it, to make it even stronger, and to give us a level of certainty that our ancestors could have only dreamed about.
I really love this quote. It just nails it. The paper trail, all that research in the archives, that tells us who we think we are. And then DNA comes along and acts as the ultimate quality control check. It confirms that yes, our research was solid and that our connection to the past is absolutely real.
And of course, research this big and this important is never done by just one person. It's only possible because some very generous family members stepped up and contributed their DNA. The folks you see here and many others are the ones who made this incredible discovery happen. Their participation is truly a gift to the entire family, connecting the past, the present, and the future.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. We've seen our DNA can solve a 300-year-old mystery, prove a paper trail was correct, and reconnect lost branches of a family. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What family legends or long-lost cousins are just waiting to be discovered in your own story? That golden thread might just be waiting in your DNA.